Hi, I'm Chris Martenson of Peak Prosperity. It is Friday, July 31st, and here is your weekly update. Another big week. Of course, the thing we're tracking most closely at the site is what's going on in China with their stock market. Yeah, sure, it's just a normal bubble dynamic. They had a big giant run up and it popped a little, and there's some official intervention, and everybody's wondering, can the officials save it or can't they? That's not what we're focusing on. What we're focusing on is the same thing we've been looking at for about 8 months now, which is that there's been this commodity deflationary impulse that started. You've seen oil go down, copper, gold go down, silver go down, grains, everything in the commodity complex striking new lows. Now, why is this important? Simple. When commodities are going down, it's hard to make a case that you're having robust economic growth. Why do we need robust economic growth? I don't know, does $200 trillion in outstanding debts mean anything? It means that we have to have robust growth. It's the same thing that sunk Greece, where they said, oh, as long as Greece gets back to robust growth, they're going to be able to pay off their debts, and now it's all going to be good. Didn't happen, not happening. Now here's the thing, China's stock market in 2007, starting in January of that year through early 2008, started crashing and having a lot of volatility and sending a lot of warning signs. People said, it's just China's market. It's not connected to anything. It's not an important one. It's not like it's a Japanese Nikkei or a US S&P or a German DAX market. Those are the biggies, right? Well, here's the thing. It turned out that the Chinese stock market gave us early warning signals then, as did commodity deflation, that we were coming into the crisis of 2008. Could this be the same thing? That's what we think. That's what we're tracking. So here's how the story hangs together if you're following it this way. Commodities are saying weakness. The Chinese stock market volatility is saying that the manufacturing center of the world is now having difficulties. And of course they were due for it because they had bubbles, both a housing bubble, don't even talk about how massive that one is, plus a stock market bubble. But what we're seeing is the early signs that the Chinese volatility plus the commodity cycle is telling us that the world is entering a pronounced slowdown. Does this matter? Yeah, it matters a lot. Particularly when you look at the equity markets in Europe and the United States, which are now 7 runs to the top. I used to say once upon a time when I was busy trading, day trading, and doing other forms of stock trading and things like that, futures trading, if you double top, that was a bad sign. A triple top was a really bad sign. What does a septuple top mean? I mean, this is just crazy time right now. We're just continually banging our heads equity-wise in the United States on S&P 2100, on Dow 18,000, give or take, and just bang, 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 can't get through it. It's going to take something massive to get through it. Our view at Peak Prosperity is that we don't get that massive thing before we get the fall. First the fall. First the then the boom, right? The part of this story is the deflationary side. It's the wiping out of things. How big would that deflation be if it could be? Well, here's some numbers. Bubbles tend to revert to the mean. They tend to go back from whence they came. You know, it's kind of like the creature from Black Lagoon. Comes out of the lagoon, goes back. When we look at it that way, the United States total credit market debt has been on this extraordinary binge. It's been growing way faster than the underlying economy. People say, oh, we had that housing bubble back in 2007-8, it burst. No, that was a side bubble. The main bubble is the one that started being blown back in the early 1980s. Let's make this comparable. So in the early 1980s, our debt to GDP was about 180%. Meaning we had 1.8 units of debt for every 1 unit of GDP. It meant that when you took on $1 of debt, you could stimulate a certain amount of GDP. Well, since then, ever since we proved that deficits don't matter, because we delinked from the gold standard in 1971, here's what we've done. We've gone from 180% debt to GDP to 200%, to 220, to 250. Then it went to 270. Then it finally broke the 300% mark. Never been seen before territory. I mean, we're in crazy time. Then 320, then 340, 350, 370. That's where we are today. 370% debt to GDP. And all the Fed can think to do is more of that. We just need more. If we could just get more debt out the door, then everything would be good. Not recognizing that the problem always was you can't have too much debt. or you can, but you shouldn't, right? That's where we are. We're in too much debt. That's the diagnosis of everything. And so if we were going to say that this debt bubble, which started in the 80s and is now in the process of topping and maybe bursting, was going to revert all the way back to the mean, we would have to go all the way from 370% debt to GDP to 180 to get back to mean, might overshoot, go back to 100%. What would that mean? That would mean the loss of between 30 and 40 trillion dollars of debt in the United States that would have to get wiped off the books. And that's just the debt. I'm not even talking about liabilities, unfunded pensions, unfunded Social Security, unfunded Medicare, things like that. We're just talking strict debt. So it's a massive, massive thing. Nobody wants to see that bubble deflate. Officials are doing everything in their power to prevent that from happening. But what we're about at Peak Prosperity is understanding that they're not all powerful. Maybe they will be successful. We wish them all the best luck, but maybe they won't be. Honestly, we shouldn't have gotten this far over the tips of our skis. Honestly, we shouldn't be at 370% debt to GDP. Honestly, anybody who sees that we're there and looks at global growth being really slow and anemic over all these years, the past 10 years now, should say something's different in this story. We're going to have to adjust. The official story is saying, no, we're not going to adjust. That's where you and I come in. It's up to us to figure out how to read these tea leaves, protect ourselves, become resilient, become engaged, build up all the forms of capital that we need to not only be prosperous and joyous today, but weather whatever future is coming. That's what we do at Peak Prosperity. So hope to see you there. I'm going to be on an interesting island, the next update for this, so you'll probably see a big change in the background, and looking forward to that. So until next time, I'm Chris Martenson, and if you haven't, please subscribe to this channel, and we'll see you next time.